As usual, I think I'll wait a few minutes just to give people time to join if they want. But thanks to the 10 people that are already here. You are all my new best friends. Oh, we got some comments in already. I Love Planes 123 says, I'm your favorite YouTuber. Thank you. Brittany says, hi back. Trains are indeed awesome. Yes, they are. CK and Mike both say congrats. Thank you. Hey, D'Angelo's here. Haven't seen you in a while. George says, choo choo, congrats. Kyle's Life says, Thom, your train videos are my favorite videos. Oh, thank you. Oh, History and Leisure. I didn't know that that was your name. That's kind of cool. I think you are the second guy I've ever heard of to have that name, and you're definitely more likable than the first one I've heard of. So, my wife Lindsay's name is obviously with an EY. She's not here tonight, but she'll hopefully be back later, but I think the stream will be done before that, because I'm probably going to cook dinner for her. All right, how is everybody's day going today? Yes, it is the 75th anniversary CTA shirt. It was a birthday gift from, this is bad, I think my parents. Richard loves the videos. My day is going great. This morning I was waiting for my train to go to work, and it was a 7000 series, so my second time riding one of those, which was really fun. They are such an improvement. I was talking to a friend today, and the ride quality is so much smoother than the older trains. And my friend said it has something to do with like the propulsion and the suspension and whatnot. But like 6 a.m. in the morning is a lot better when you're on a brand new train versus a train that's several decades old. Then I got to film some scenes for a video that I'm hopefully going to upload in the spring, a video from Indiana actually. And then, like I said, this afternoon on my way home, I got to hang out with a friend on the train. I don't know if you guys know the channel Chicagoland Transit, but he and I, we hang out sometimes. He's got really high quality, like really good footage of transit here in the Chicago area. So highly recommend. Mass by Train asks, how old are you? You look early 20s. Well, that is absolutely correct. I am early 20s. I'm glad I look my age. So many people have said that I look younger. One time I was visiting something, and this dude offered me, no, he offered all my friends coffee. He said, but none for you, right? And I've never met this guy in my life. And I was like, how do you know that? Because I don't drink coffee. I'm a tea drinker, black tea drinker. But there's no way this guy knew that unless he was some sort of like prophet. But then he was like, nah, you're too young. What are you, 15, 16? I was 20. So, yeah. And like 10 years from now, oh, that's going to be the best compliment ever. Like, oh, you look so young. But I was a 20-year-old, you know, I was a sophomore in college, and I was like, dang, that's offensive. Obviously not meant offensive. Obviously didn't bother me for more than 5 minutes. But I still don't drink coffee. Let's check out some of these questions before we move on. Wow, riding a 7000 series without being planned. I've only ever ridden them without being planned. I should make a video about Tri-Rail in Florida. I should. I actually have a blood relative that has footage of Tri-Rail. So I don't know if you're watching tonight, but my WeTransfer is open for business. Otherwise, I'll go there myself someday. Brightline is opening this year, and I definitely want to go see that. San Gabriel Valley Railfan says, his day is getting better because I'm streaming. D'Angelo's day is going good. Oh, another Lindsay. Hello, Lindsay. Sad it's not my Lindsay, though. But I'll see her soon. How am I? Doing good? Can I rank the CTA lines from best to worst? Okay, my favorite's the Brown line, and that has to do with the beautiful views of downtown, the fun neighborhoods it goes through, and then like the level, like the grade crossing, the railroad crossings towards the end of the line are fun. I like the orange line for similar reasons, great views. The yellow line is, I think, the most unique. Then you've got the purple line. I like that it goes fast. Red line, that might be surprising to people, but I just happen to use the red line a lot. And it's a really fast way to get from where I live to downtown. Then pink and green both don't have a ton of experience riding those, so they're just kind of floating towards the bottom, but my least favorite is blue, and that's probably because I ride it every day. Blue is a little bit better now that we have the 7000s, but let's see. Where did I go to college? I went to college in Grand Rapids, Michigan. That's why I lived there for 4 years, and then we moved to Chicago 8 months ago. I think 8 months. Yeah. What video is the thumbnail from? What thumbnail did I use? Oh, I took that this morning. If it's a 7000. No, I did not go to GVSU, but you can keep guessing. I actually did have a professor who teaches at GVSU who taught as like an adjunct in my college, but hearing lots of wedding stories. Yes, I am hating on blue. I don't hate blue. It's just like the red line gets a bad rap, and it deserves that at times, but as like a high intensity blue line rider, I just have more horror stories from the blue line, including just last week when I had to wait 26 minutes at a station only for the sign to say that the next train, the one that I was waiting on, was going to run express. Somebody says, I haven't seen any videos on your channel riding an Amtrak sleeper. I haven't ridden in a sleeper car myself, but it looks great. And someone has a name, of course, it's George Funk. I've never been on an Amtrak sleeper, and that has one main reason: money. I was a college student until last year, and so I found amazing Amtrak deals. Like they had a BOGO sale that my brother and I took to ride the Empire Builder, $70 for the both of us. And I've been on the Southwest Chief for $50. So with my age and my like love for trains, like sleeping in coach for 1 or 2 nights is totally doable. And it's definitely not for everyone, but for me, I've never really seen the reason to like alter my finances so much that to get a sleeper, you know, like that's $900 if you're lucky, and I could use that on other things. Okay. And then there's a second part to why I ride coaches. I've noticed that there's barely any coach videos out there on the long distance trains. So if you want to know what the Southwest Chief or the Empire Builder are like in coach, then definitely watch my stuff. And there's more coming because I've filmed a Pacific Surfliner video recently. So you can expect that hopefully in March or April. Actually became one of my favorite Amtrak trains I've ever been on, the Surfliner. And I don't know if I should share this, but why not? We bought the rail passes when they were on this super sale. It was $300 basically instead of $500. So very much looking forward to the trips that Lindsay and I will be taking on our rail passes. But keep you updated as we make more plans. There's a lot of stuff we need to figure out to do that. What is my favorite transit system outside of Chicago? Oh yeah, you guessed the school right, but it's a university now, not a college. So get your name straight. My favorite transit system outside of Chicago is Tokyo. Best system in the world. Fight me. I lived in Tokyo for 10 years, so when I was a kid. So I commuted to school on the Tokyo subway every day. It's such a complicated web of different companies and different lines, and it's so overwhelming if you look at it, but I have made a few videos explaining it in the past. Um, if you specifically want a US system, I do really like the New York subway. Like, just it's just such a part of the city, you know. Um, I love it. Bothers other people, but I love going down to the platform and like hearing music playing because oftentimes they're very good. I like the different trains. I like the announcements like "Stand clear, the closing doors, please," stuff like that. So I definitely love the New York system. Um, I've never been on San Francisco, but I've heard that it's really good. And from what I've seen on maps, there's a lot of variety. Because the thing is my favorite thing in a system is like variety. So variety in the rolling stock, in the in like the different modes of transport. That's really important to me, which is why Tokyo was such a great place for me because every single subway line has their own fleet, and every like commuter rail company, if that's what you want to call it, has their own fleet. And so like there's always something to see. And that's what makes some parts of Chicago not boring. I don't want to say boring, because there's a lot of cool stuff to see and ride here and a lot of stuff I haven't done yet. But like you take Metro for example, and the locomotive is fun to watch, but then the next 10 cars behind it are the same silver gallery cars with the absolutely like I didn't know it was impossible. I didn't know it was possible for something to not have a design, but that's what the cabs on a metro train kind of look like. So congratulations, Metra, on proving to me that nothing is impossible. Um, am I into model railroading and do I play any train simulators? Um, the simulator question is pretty easy. I don't. I I'm not against them. That's not really what I do. I also work a full-time job, have other obligations like making YouTube videos, and that's what I enjoy doing more. Not the job part, but the making videos part. So, and as for model railroading, I actually have a few on the shelf over there. I have an old Santa Fe locomotive, EMD locomotive, and some freight cars, Pullman coach. And that's just kind of stuff that has been given to me or that I found at thrift stores because Lindsay and I are avid thrifters. There's a Salvation Army not too far from where we live. It's a little bit of a hike, but we go there a little bit more than maybe we should. Somebody asks, is Amtrak worth the money? Yes, it is. It's an experience. So like, is it the fastest way to get to Los Angeles? No. But do you get to like run through mountain passes and through the desert on Spirit? Also no. So the Spirit also doesn't have the panoramic windows like Amtrak does. So what you give up in time, you save in experience. All right. Let's keep looking. This is the like most active chat I've ever seen. So thank you guys. And I can't believe I haven't said this yet, but thanks everyone for supporting me in the channel. I saw on Facebook a year ago, like a memory popped up that I had 3,000 subscribers a year ago. And even 7,000 was only in November. So that's really, you guys have been really generous and gracious and supportive, and I appreciate that. I started this channel in 2014. It's never been and still isn't my like intention to grow it and to become really big. I just really love trains, and like documenting my travels and the things that I find interesting. And as long as people enjoy that, then that's this really cool piece of common ground that we have. Um, and I'm always trying to challenge myself to improve quality and stuff, and improve like relationships with viewers. But ultimately, you know, ultimately this is going to probably stay a hobby. But I think a big thanks is due to my viewers in California. I don't know if you guys are like commuting right now or having dinner or watching, but it's kind of thanks to my Arrow video and my K-Line video that the channel really took off. And the funny part is I booked a trip to ride Arrow because when I lived in the Netherlands, Tokyo, the Netherlands, um, I'm one of those people where you regret when you ask me where I'm from because you're like, I didn't care that much to hear a whole story. But anyways, when I lived in the Netherlands, I took the Stadler Flirt a lot. And when I know that they're running in Texas, but when I heard that a new one was opening in California, and I knew I had to go. And the crazy thing was riding the Flirt, it literally smelled the same as the trains that I rode in the Netherlands. And it sounded the same, and it was a really bizarre experience. And then I had some time to kill in Los Angeles because the cheapest flight was out of LAX. And so I was like, hey, K-Line opened. At that time, it was 2-3 weeks ago. Let me shoot some footage of that. And I did, and it's my most watched video ever. So spontaneous stuff. Oh, we have somebody watching from the UK. Sorry to keep you up so late. I do these on weekday nights because I usually want to like hang out with Lindsay or with my family or friends on the weekends. But have fun, Baseball Fan 99 in Chicago. Berghoff, I haven't eaten there, but I can give you other recommendations too if you're here for more than one meal. What neighborhood do I live in Chicago, and am I liking it? I'll skip the answer to the first question, but I do really like living here. Chicago is a great city. It's kind of terrible in the winter, but today it was like a no hat, no glove kind of day, at least if you're used to it. If you're from LA, it's a bundle up with 3 coats kind of day. And the reason I say that is I was in LA in January, like the first week of the new year for a friend's wedding, and it was when it was really rainy, but the wedding was on a sunny day, and the wedding was outside. And me and like Lindsay and a couple of the bride's friends from the Midwest were like, "Oh, this is beautiful." And all the people from Los Angeles were wearing coats and shivering, and I was like, "Oh, I remember when that was me when I grew up in a tropical place." What got me into trains and transit? I don't honestly know. I just remember like my first memories already liking trains, and what was helpful was I've always commuted to school by train, and up until I went to college. So even as like a young kid, I was riding trains, and sometimes for long periods of time. So then the best thing to do is to just um, love what you do, I guess. Oh, a bunch of people found me from the K-Line video. Love the LA videos. Thank you. An LA resident asks me, what am I most anticipating about LA's metro and train network expansion? Other than, okay, well, obviously, California high-speed rail is something that I'm looking forward to. I personally am not like I love high-speed trains, but especially when people find out I lived in Japan, they're like, "Oh, you must love the Shinkansen, the bullet train." And I do, but at the same time, like that's a very expensive train to take, and the stuff I took day to day was like the metro and the subway and the commuter trains. So my like I'm more into perhaps metro and commuter rail than high speed rail. just for the sake of that's more accessible to me, or has been like financially. But so when it comes to Los Angeles, man, I should really educate myself more on what's coming. But it'll be nice to have the K line actually go to LAX, and then see whatever the Green Line ends up doing in conjunction with that. And I heard that they might be making Los Angeles Union Station like have through tracks, which would be really cool. I really wish we could do that here in Chicago because that would be nice. What would be my dream rail transit project? Corridor to get HSR? Are you referring to the Northeast Corridor? Um, and this is like you said dream, so I'm allowed to dream. I'm allowed to come up with like stuff that's financially or politically impossible, right? Midwestern high speed network and like a crossrail Chicago, but we just dig a tunnel from Millennium Station past Navy Pier, past the Lincoln Park Zoo, and then connect to like the Union Pacific lines on the north and northwest side of Chicago, and then obviously electrify those and have like a crossrail type thing. Emphasis on the word dream, because that will probably never happen. And yeah, I'd have to think about that from like a more global perspective. I would love to have a streetcar or a tram in my hometown in the Netherlands, or some more like metro systems paralleling like mainline tracks there. Um, is it good to have more than one train route to the same city? I mean, I think so. The they can, serve places from different areas. I'm not entirely sure what the question means, but all right. Well, let's look at some of the questions people have asked on previous like community posts. Mike asks, "Have I ever ridden on Via Rail in Canada, and what do I think of a possible return of the Toronto to Chicago run?" I've never been on Via Rail Canada. I would really like to. And as for the Chicago Toronto train, I really really hope it happens. I ride the Wolverine a lot from Chicago to that one goes to Detroit and then up to Pontiac, and just having that be an international connection would be so cool. Also, if there was a Chicago to Toronto train, um, I think Detroit would have to move its train station to the old Michigan Central Station that Ford is renovating currently, and having that be a train station again would be awesome. That's such a beautiful building, and I'm glad Ford is at least like upgrading it, and I believe they're turning it into office space. But to have that be a train station again would be awesome. River Wolf asks me a controversial question. My thoughts on free transit. Okay, so I think what differentiates my content between like some other more urbanist transit YouTubers is like I dabble in the urbanism and in the theory and whatnot, but my channel is also very experiential. Like, I like taking you along on trips, or the videos I really love doing are like my most recent Blue Line video where I'm like, there's an anomaly in this system, there's something weird going on here. We're going to try it out and we're going to explain it. So I have a few more here in Chicago, either filmed or planned of those. So when it comes to free transit, like I haven't done my due diligence and done the research in terms of like how how good or bad that would be. I do think that in some places transit is too expensive. Looking at the Netherlands when I say that, but uh, and like what I really appreciate about living in Chicago is that my monthly CTA pass is $75. So I wholeheartedly believe that we should subsidize public transportation and we should subsidize it heavily. It's just like it's better in most ways. It's better for the environment. It's a much more efficient way of moving people. And like people, we can worry about the last mile stuff, like to your individual house. But I would just think of the space a train takes up and how many people can be in that versus like people in their own cars and stuff. So public transportation needs a bigger cash flow than it does. And here in the United States, the fare box recovery ratios are low anyways. Um, but then again, there's the argument of if public transportation is free, then like what who's all going to be on it? Is there going to be any sort of control in terms of like obnoxious behavior? Um, I think that's a little bit of an American way of looking at things. I think Luxembourg is an example of a European country that has free public transportation. Um, and obviously, if you can recover your operating costs from fares, then fares aren't a bad idea. But what I like is a model like what Denver has or what Grand Rapids in Michigan has is have certain like core services be free. So in Denver, it's the free mall ride. In Grand Rapids, it's the Dash bus. In Milwaukee, it's the Hop. Like stuff that serves touristy areas that can make your last mile from a station to business that much more convenient. Stuff that can really raise awareness of like the transportation that's available. I really think it's a great idea when stuff like that is free. So that's my long answer to that. Would I rather go on the Texas Eagle or the Silver Star? Okay, so the Texas Eagle is, at least in the Amtrak community, a bad train because of the like downgrades. Like it doesn't have a lounge. Does it have a diner? I don't even know. Um, but still, I think that route would be more interesting. I have nothing against Florida. Well, nothing against the transit in Florida. Um, and I would totally ride either, but you know, force me to make a decision. Probably Texas Eagle because then I could connect that with the Sunset Limited and go all the way to LA. And I've been on the Lakeshore Limited and I've been on the Empire Builder, so I really want an opportunity to film like the split or the combining of the Texas Eagle and the Sunset Limited, because then I think I have all of the Amtrak like splitting and combining cars on camera. Maybe one day. All right, we've got a few more questions. Also, how many people thought I was going to be live streaming out of Denver because I used that picture? Cameron, a very faithful commenter, always has good stuff to share. His question is if I have a least favorite Amtrak route. Ooh. I love riding Amtrak, so I I don't know if I can think of a specific route that I don't like because of the route. The Lakeshore Limited, I had very rude staff on board, and also I rode it in December, so by the time we left Albany, it was completely dark. So I didn't get to see much of the Hudson River. For the people asking right now, I have not been on the California Zephyr yet. So maybe Lakeshore Limited. Also, my previous experience on the Wolverine just recently was good, but the one before that on Christmas Day was just absolutely terrible. Lady drove her car on the tracks, engine broke down multiple times. There's a video about it on the channel. Maybe some of you have seen it. So that particular Amtrak trip would hands down be the worst. Anonymous asks, when did I start traveling on Amtrak? My first Amtrak trip was in March 2019 from Chicago to Grand Rapids, Michigan. All right, let's go back to the live stream. And some thoughts on public transportation and if it's free or not. D'Angelo is like, Chicago to Toronto will definitely be great. Okay. Oh, D'Angelo also asks, would I ride on the Las Vegas monorail? You know, I would, and I have. So in November of 2000, what was it, 21, my brother and I drove to Detroit, got on a plane to Las Vegas, and the funny part was is I didn't know where we were going because he had planned it for me. So I find out at the airport we're going to Vegas, and then we come up with a plan is we're gonna walk around and see the sights, like, you know, see the big screen in downtown Las Vegas, go to the Pawn Stars shop, see all the crazy resorts. But part of what we were gonna do was ride all the little monorails and people movers in Vegas, because we know the Las Vegas monorail, but some of the resorts have their own little people movers. Um, I couldn't possibly tell you which resorts they are anymore, but we did all of them in one day. Our legs were so sore, and In-N-Out Burger has never tasted that good. It always tastes phenomenal, but that was the best I've ever had. But like I've said several times today, that video is here on the channel. It's obviously like 2 years back, so the quality is not as great as like the stuff that I maybe put out today, but that was a really fun trip, and that video needs some love. So definitely, I've been on the Las Vegas monorail. It's kind of a dumb idea, but it's fun to ride all the same. What is my favorite video that I had the most enjoyment making? Most enjoyment making. I'm gonna come back to that one. In terms of filming, like just the actual going on the trip is super fun. So I loved doing the Southwest Chief. I loved doing my Interrail trip in 2018. I just graduated, and a friend and I did a big European train trip. I think it was 14 countries that we went to. Beautiful, like Switzerland, and we went to Vienna and Budapest, and like kind of Eastern Europe, and it was just great. And I'm thinking now that that's been 5 years ago, to make like kind of a documentary style, maybe 1 or 2 part series, kind of revisiting it and being like, I don't know, kind of applying the editing skills that I've gathered since in those 5 years, and kind of making like a new thing to share the experience with like all the people that joined the channel later. Any news on the use of electric trains on the Metro commuter service? The news is that a lot of people know that that would be a good idea, except the people that make the decisions. So what they're going to do is take these 40-year-old diesel locomotives and retrofit them with super heavy batteries, so that in, what should we give them, 5 years, they can say, oh, the battery trial didn't work, let's stick with diesel. Sorry, I don't think the battery locomotive thing Metro does is a good idea. Yeah, don't forget the SD70 Mach. My opinion, my live stream, my opinion. SD70 Mach is also a bad idea. It's a freight locomotive. It's got 6 axles. It's tier 3 emissions, which is better than the tier 0 that all the other EMD stuff is belting out. But like, if you take it, I don't know. I will go see the SD70 Mach when it comes out, but as of right now, I'm not a fan of the plan. I just think it's all these band-aid solutions, and I get it because funding is hard to get. They have Siemens chargers. That's all I'm going to say. Can I do the City of New Orleans Amtrak route? Well, you'll be very pleased to find out what I'm planning to upload in 2 or 3 weeks. What system in the US that I have not ridden would I like to ride the most? All right, so I've said San Francisco earlier in the video, so barring that, I have not been on the LIRR or MTA, which is surprising because I've been to New York plenty of times, but just never really done that. So that would be something I'd want to do. Let's see. I'm waiting to ride Marta until the new Stadler trains come out. Oh, I'll share that later. But okay, this is gonna sound dumb, but I've always wanted to check out the transit in Cleveland. I've heard that the waterfront line may reopen in September, so I'll kind of wait for that, and then if I do that, then it'll kind of be fall, so maybe I can ride the scenic railroad there as well. I've been on MBTA. I just haven't been on the Blue Line because it was under construction when I was in Boston, and so I want to come back and ride the Blue Line and make a video about it. Let me think. Yeah, in terms of... Oh, and I'd like to go to Dallas-Fort Worth too and try out all the stuff there. How comfortable is coach class on the long overnight trains? It's very comfortable. Very, very comfortable. I sleep really good in a Superliner seat. Really good. Obviously, like I said before, I'm in my early 20s. I'm physically fit and able-bodied, so like that all factors into that decision. But you're not going to find train seats more comfortable than Amtrak Superliner seats. Have I seen all the heritage locomotives for Metra? Yes, I have. The last one I still needed to see I saw in December, so I will make a video about all the heritage locomotives and the history behind them. Also, I've noticed in comments on videos that a lot of people are a fan of my Thom in the Midwest series. They don't do phenomenally viewership-wise, but like I said before, that doesn't super matter to me. But a lot of people have asked if they're coming back or even sent me Instagram DMs. And so set your calendars to next week, Wednesday. It's going to be a short one because it was negative 13 degrees when I was filming, but it's... All right. Any Disney World transportation videos in the future? Hopefully. I was actually kind of, well, planning. I had tickets to go to Disney World in 2021. But then unfortunately the person that was hosting me was hospitalized. She's totally fine. But what happened was actually I was at the airport, had gone through security, was waiting at the gate, and got a call from the person's father that they were in the hospital. And so at the gate had to like decide to cancel the flight and then went back home. And that's the weirdest feeling, is if you've been through all the TSA hassle and then you don't fly. So one day when I'm a millionaire, I will go back to Disney World and definitely ride all the public transportation there. Tokyo Disney has a monorail with like the trains have Mickey Mouse shaped windows, and Tokyo Disney Sea in specific also has like an electric railroad kind of roughly modeled off of the New York subway in the 20s or 30s, and that's a lot of fun to ride. What is my opinion on the Montreal REM? Great. Automated, super modern looking trains. I'm a fan. Really, I feel like when it comes to train enthusiasts, there's people who are like really into the nostalgic old stuff, and there's people who are really into like the flashy new stuff. And I think both camps overlap a little bit. Like I love seeing a steam train drive by. What gets me really excited is new trains, which is probably what explains a lot of the controversy around the Siemens Charger, not the Chargers, the Ventures, because they are not the demonic like trains from hell that people in Facebook pages make them out to be. And when you have conversations with those people, a lot of the time it leads to, but I wish they would still use the amp fleet. And there's a lot to be said for the amp fleet, but there's also a lot to be said for a train that doesn't accumulate snow in the vestibules, has passenger information, and actually looks like it was made in the 21st century, because it was. Um, so do you know what's funny is, like, I've had a few videos in the past that did pretty well, um, but like the popularity has been really recent, as I said earlier. Like I went from 3,000 subscribers in January last year to 7,000 in November to 15,000 now. Um, and with increased viewership and stuff comes like increased comments, and we actually have very, very high what's the word? Shoot. I want to say interaction, but like somebody help me out here. Like when the back and forth between like creator and viewers, it's relatively high for a YouTube channel in this area, in this field. So that's really cool to see. And I usually, most of the comments, like all of you guys today, are super positive. I've had people say the sweetest things to me. I've even gotten an email from a kid that watches my stuff recently that was like, I love trains. I'm so glad you love trains too. I always love your stuff. Like that's touching, and it makes engagement. I was engaged once. I should know that. Thank you. What was wrong with me? It's been a long day. I've done a lot of driving today. Was it okay? So with increased engagement comes increased negativity. But what I've found interesting is usually a video gets like good feedback, and then once it hits a certain mark, all of a sudden there's just hordes of blah, homeless people, blah, crime, blah, waste of money, blah, people should just drive their cars instead. Like if a video reaches 20,000 views, all of a sudden you get like 50 "this was a waste of taxpayer money" comments. I just delete them. But also I'm like, well, can you just not go to train YouTube and keep enjoying your waste of taxpayer money, aka the highways and the back roads you drive on, and just leave me alone, because you're annoying. And then sometimes there's just really funny comments. Sometimes there's like offensive comments. Like somebody went back to when I did videos in Dutch, and basically said a bunch of things about the other language that I speak as a mother tongue, and it used to bother me a lot, but now I just kind of like, I just delete, I block. It's super easy to do. It feels kind of fun that that's in your control, but sometimes stuff is so ridiculous. Like in my in my North Star video, somebody just said, I thought you were British. When's the last time you heard a British person talk? Anyways, on my North Star video, I ride that train during sunrise, which is what I do here in Chicago to get to work as well. And Lindsay and I, we, as families do, you develop a little bit of your own language when you talk about stuff. And when stuff is really early, we say that it's the butt crack of dawn. I know it's like immature and like it's potty humor, but also like it's, I don't know. It gets the point across that it's very early. It's the butt crack of dawn, and I used that in my video, and some people laughed. But one person took offense to the word butt in specific, and not like the you should say bottom instead, but like the you're so uncultured and immature, and why are you saying butt? And then I responded with, can you please not be such a pain in the butt? Um, and then it escalated very quickly to come back to Minneapolis and I'll fight you. And then I said, nah, you get your butt kicked, and blocked him. So, third butt's a charm. Have I been to any railroad museums? I've been to the Omiya Railroad Museum in Japan, as well as the Tokyo Metro Museum in Tokyo. I've been to the Spoorweg Museum in Utrecht, the Netherlands. I've been to... Have I been to any American railroad museums? I think maybe not. That sounds like something that needs to change. If only Illinois had a fabulous, super famous railroad museum not too far from Chicago. It'd be really great if we had that. Oh, we do. All right. Adam asks, do I like railcar manufacturers? I really like the Japanese ones, obviously. Kawasaki, Nippon Sharyo, Kinki Sharyo. I know Nippon Sharyo is kind of a no-go here in the US now after the Amtrak crash test fail thing. But they're good. And when it comes to European manufacturers, I don't like Alstom. And that's mostly because I just think that their designs are really trashy. Like it's gonna look dated in 2 years. And I would love to get tea in Minneapolis. Their designs are dated. Same with, so Siemens is interesting because they kind of have a European side and a North American side. I tend to really like their North American stuff, except I found out recently that they're planning to like build high-speed trains here in North America, and the artist renderings I saw were the same train as like the current Eurostar and ICE3 Neo, which I just happen to think is a terrible, ugly design. It looks like a beluga whale has some mascara running. Hey, you made it. But other than, and the Siemens Mireo, Mireo, look it up. I just think it's an atrocious design. But then like the DeZero and like some of their subways and streetcars look really great. Across the board, Stadler is just a great manufacturer. My only issue with Stadler is that because they can mass produce trains so much, it tends to take away from the variety. Like you can go anywhere in Europe now and see a Flirt, which it's cool, but it's also boring. And so I'm glad that Stadler also has their like tailor-made products. But one cool thing about Stadler is, so I went to Los Angeles, I went to San Bernardino in November, rode the Aero service, and made the video about it. Video did really well. And then last month, somebody commented on my YouTube like, hey, Stadler shared your video on their Facebook page. So I checked it, and sure enough, the official Stadler Facebook page, the Swiss train manufacturer, had a link to my video and was like, Thom flew from Chicago to California to ride our new train. What do you think of the train? That was so cool. That I still get chills thinking about that. Dave, I'm beginning to think you work at the museum. What about US rail manufacturers? Forgive my ignorance, but what have like US rail manufacturers built in the last 10 years? So so you say Stadler has DMUs and you're not a fan. Are you not a fan of the fact that they're diesel or that they're multiple units? Because on one issue I could agree with you, and on the other issue I could strongly disagree with you. CTA asks, how many Metro Heritage liveries have I seen so far? I've seen all of them. I think I answered that about 15-ish minutes ago. Yeah, so Nippon Sharyo and CRRC are Asian companies. They have factories in the US. Actually, every manufacturer has to have a factory in the US. So I think almost all the new equipment that is being bought right now is a foreign company, but that has labor here in the United States. GE and EMD are based here. When I rode Metrolink, I rode the new EMD locomotives. I think they are EMD, right? Pretty cool. Once again, like if I had to critique the design, I'd say it's better than most of what's out there here in the US, unfortunately, but it's kind of like, why does locomotives look like they have rolls, you know? D'Angelo, what are you making a meme of? Yes, so George says the diesel engine in the middle. If you're gonna run diesel, just run the locos, even if you don't get the acceleration. I mean, it takes up way less space than a locomotive does, and I don't know about like the efficiency or whatever, but in general, I am a big fan of multiple units. It's just kind of what I've been used to my whole life, and I think that in today's day, like the argument against multiple units is if a car is broken, you can easily swap it out. But with the way multiple units have improved in the rest of the world over the past few decades, like that's less of a concern, I think. Ethan says hi. Another cool thing about doing YouTube and like growing in it is the people you get to meet. So obviously there's all of you, which you guys have been sticking around with me for almost an hour, so thank you very much. I get tired of my own voice, so I don't know how you guys are doing, but we'll probably go for like another 15 to 20 minutes if that's all right. Keep questions coming in the live chat, and so one of the cool things about this is you get to meet some other people, whether it be in real life or online. So like I've got some friends here in Chicago who, yeah, I see from time to time. Either it's coordinated or we just happen to be on the same bus or train together. And there are some people here in Chicago that are just like the wealth of knowledge that comes out of them. Like I could ask anything and they'll know, which is really cool. Sometimes connections are like online. And one really cool relationship that I've kind of established through this app is with a British YouTuber called Nonstop Euro Trip. Probably not watching tonight. He does what are, in my opinion, like the best train trip reports from Europe and recently from Asia. They're just very like, I don't know, just the way he makes them makes it very easy to read, and like it keeps your attention. And I'd commented on his stuff maybe 2 years ago, like, hey, if you ever go to Japan, I'm your guy. Like, I lived there for 10 years. I'm kind of obsessed with the trains there. And so he texted me last fall saying he was going to go to Japan and for recommendations, and I had them ready. So I sent them to him, And then he just sent me updates of his trip, and like it was just so cool to live vicariously through his experience. And then now that he's uploaded his videos from Japan, just kind of bringing back in that nostalgia. And then he sent me a little packet of like train goodies from Japan, like stickers and a keychain and some bags from one of the luxury classes that he can totally afford to ride in, but I can't. So that's just super thoughtful. That was super cool. And like, I'm looking forward to work with whatever creators are out there that want to work together. What are my general thoughts on rail transit systems in Canada? Well, unfortunately, while I have been to Canada a few times, I've never actually been on any train in Canada. Because like growing up, my family's a road tripping family, and they love trains and they love everything. But like the family vacation was driving around in a car, which was super fun. And like I'm super close with my parents and my siblings. So, but it does mean that in a lot of cases, there are places that I've been to that I actually haven't ridden the transit of. Case in point, Boston. So I've been to Boston a handful of times, but it was only last May that I actually rode the T for the first time. And people from Boston love to gripe about the T, but I actually had a very great experience. It's totally different from riding the L here. And even more different from, I was still living in Michigan at the time where we had zilch. So Jerry asks, do I work in the rail transit industry? No, actually, this is exclusively a hobby at this point. I'm not saying I'll never do it, but it's not what I studied in college, and it's also not really in the jobs that I'm looking to do in the future. My current job actually does have some relation to railroading, not very explicit, or it's definitely not in my portfolio, but I can look up a few train related things at my current job. All right. Let me think. I got a message. Ethan lives in DC and riding the T was wonderful. Yeah, see, I had the same experience. I thought that everything was pretty well done. What I really appreciated about the T in Boston is also that the lines are color coded, kind of like they are in some other places in the world, specifically in Asia. And so that was kind of like a blast from the past, is like being on a system where every line has their own colored trains. Like here in Chicago, everything is silver. DC Metro is awesome. I think that sometime in the future I want to go there again and make some more DC content. Right, I gotta send a text real quick, guys. So, okay. Where in the world would I go to ride trains that I haven't been on yet? One transit network that kind of fascinates me is the one in Seoul, South Korea. So that could be fun. Oh, the United Kingdom. I've been to London once, and that was 11 years ago. So I've curated this whole list of British trains that I want to ride. There's so much more in Switzerland that I would like to do. In 5 years ago, I did do a few beautiful Swiss trains. But there's so many out there. Yeah, pretty much anywhere where there's a train, I'll go. And even if there's not a train, like that's not a reason for me to not go. But oh, one more, Jakarta, Indonesia. And the reason that's on the top of my like train list is because Jakarta recycles old Tokyo Metro trains. So if I went back to Tokyo, I probably wouldn't be able to ride the trains that I rode when I was a kid there. But if I go to Jakarta, a lot of them are still running there. MSP Aviation says congrats on 15K. Thank you. Andrew wants to explore ex-Soviet transit systems. Yeah, so Moscow is actually a transit system that I've been fascinated with for a long time. Unfortunately, I don't see myself going there in the near future for obvious reasons. And that's the thing, isn't it? Like, war and politics are decisions that a small number of people get to make that affect a large number of people. And obviously, me not being able to ride a train is like dismissible. I'm mostly talking about like the poor people that are being subject to war in Ukraine and in a lot of places around the world. Places that we tend to forget because our media and our attention don't focus on them. Speaking of which, like, there was a big earthquake in Turkey and in Syria, and I've been in many earthquakes myself, and it's absolutely horrible what's happened there, and the lives that have been lost, the property that's been destroyed. So that's definitely somewhere where I'll be looking to like see how I can help. And yeah, if you're feeling like what can I do, like that's definitely an area where I would encourage you to like to look for needs to fill because it's horrible. Gutter 10 says, I appreciate your optimism around transit in the US. People get so down on it, and while there's so much to improve, we should celebrate what we have that works well. Well, thank you. A lot of people can be down in the gutter about it, and let me get this out of the way. There is a lot about American transit that needs to be improved. And so much of that is what we blame on transit, what we should be blaming on policymakers and the automobile lobby and just all these actors that are actively working against transit. Like just last week I was on a CTA train and somebody was like, I hate the CTA. And it was, I don't remember what it was, but there's a lot of stuff that's the CTA's fault, but this just wasn't it. But people always blame the transit system. And I addressed this more in my last live stream, but train enthusiasts, I've noticed, tend to have two camps, where it's either this system is perfect and you can't change anything, how dare you suggest improvement, or it's this sucks and nothing will ever be good. And I've experienced both, especially in the Netherlands. The Netherlands has a great train system, but I was also a commuter on it for 5 years after being a commuter on a system that's just objectively better on a lot of metrics. And there's things that even the Dutch railroads handle unprofessionally or just plain stupidly. Like they have this policy where if the departure screen at a train station says that the train leaves at 3:05, for example, then the conductors close the doors at 3:04 so that when the clock changes 3 to 3:05, then the train can leave on time, which that's such a logistical complexity for passengers to understand, where I'm like, if I see a screen that says 3:05, I'm going to assume I have until like 3:04:59 to get in. And so when you close the doors a full minute early, like I think that's stupid. But when you criticize that, then there's this group of people who will be like, well, NS is so great, and don't you know that we have it so good compared to other countries? And it's like, yeah, but just because the German train is delayed for an hour, does that mean I should just be okay with my train being delayed for 20 minutes? And Similarly, here in the US, it's kind of the opposite, especially I've noticed with my Boston content, where if I'm trying to praise anything, or even if I'm just trying to be like, hey, as somebody who likes trains, for the sake of trains, I enjoyed this. And people are like, but don't you know how terrible it is? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why can't we aim for perfection and celebrate the good that we have? That just might be how I'm wired personally, but it's a thought. And then we have Jerry asked two questions. So one is a comment. If you visit British Columbia, you can ride SkyTrain in Vancouver and then take the Rocky Mountaineer. I will set up a GoFundMe so that you can sponsor my Rocky Mountaineer trip. Just kidding. One thing that I do really want to do if I ever do go to British Columbia is the Cowam shuttle. I did not pronounce that right, but the little shuttle thing in the mountains. Chad, I would love to go to Australia. I've been there once, but that was 17 years ago. And the metro was not open then. And then Jerry also says, if I could add one new line to the CTA-L system, where would I want it to run? I'm actually kind of working on a CTA fantasy map right now. I think like having something go down Kedzie and then going down Harlem would be great to like kind of connect the middle and the ends of a lot of lines, and then maybe like loop it eastward as it goes to the south. If I can answer this question on behalf of my wife Lindsay, an L down Chicago Avenue, because those buses are packed and are a frequent source of complaint for her. And then finally, as someone who lives relatively close to it, I hate Lakeshore Drive. I think it's such a waste of space. It's so noisy, it's so polluting, and what I just don't like is like people that live in neighborhoods right off the coast, right off the lakeshore. There are only certain areas where you can actually cross the highway. Like say you want to go to the Lincoln Park Zoo and then you want to go to the lake. Either you have to go to Fullerton or you have to go all the way. I'm blanking on the name of the street, but it's a 15-minute walk between the two highway crossings to get to the lake. That should be a park. That should be affordable housing. That should be small businesses that sell groceries or food. And what better way to connect that than with, say, a light rail or an L? Like, yeah, ask me personally, let's get rid of Lakeshore Drive. We'll figure out the traffic stuff later. We'll have engineers do that. And let's put something that serves Navy Pier, serves these neighborhoods, but also on the, not just the north side, also the south side, like serves everybody. And just make sure that kids can live in the city without breathing in smog. Which European trains are on my bucket list? Did you guys see there's a gauge-changing train in Switzerland now? The Golden Pass, you used to have to transfer trains, and now you can just take a train that just changes how wide its wheels are. And I've been on that route before that, so I'd like to do it again. But now with that, European trains that I would like to do. I have a list somewhere. I wouldn't know where. So we're going to do this from memory. I'd like to go to like the very northern part of Germany and see some of the stuff there. Like the Rendsburg Viaduct and the charter cars that go up to Nibel and stuff. Oh, There's a train that runs from Switzerland to Italy, one of the most scenic train trips in the world. And the operator that runs the trains, it's an Italian abbreviation spelled FART. So the scenery is a bonus, but before I die, I have to ride the fart train. I just have to. But other than that, I'd like to take. I've taken trains in Portugal, and I'd like to do more of that. I'd like to take the high-speed rail in Spain. Anything like in the Czech Republic or Hungary, or you can take a train from Austria to Turkey, and that sounds like a lot of fun. CTA Noodle the Transit asks, did I go to Orland Park, Illinois? Yes, I've taken Metro Southwest service. I shot those videos in July, so it's more than time for me to upload that. Shoot. Yes, I took the Metro Southwest service in July, and I'm one of these days going to get down to editing the video. My editing, like my schedule is very random. My main goal is to like have some variety between content. So I don't want to do like a full month of Chicago stuff and then like 5 weeks of LA stuff. So that's my main driving factors. What did I upload last week? So that like, what can I upload this week? Unless I do have some stuff that I feel like this kind of goes together. So I might do like 2 or 3 weeks in a row of like content that builds up off of each other. Obviously, when I do like my really long Amtrak trip reports, I tend to split them up by day just because there's so much to see. And those are obviously in succession, because who wants to watch part 2 of a trip report where they watched part 1 2 months ago? Do I do any rail fanning? Yes, I do. I'm not as dedicated that I will like spend hours outside or anything, but I love taking videos and pictures of cool trains that pass by. And some of the content I can't actually put into like my videos, so a couple times a year I like to do like rail fan, just compilations of trains running by, because that's what I started doing with this channel. I didn't do a vlog until maybe 3 years in. My first vlog I ever did was with my brother. We were both teenagers, and we were participating in this competition in the Netherlands to see who could visit the most train stations in 12 hours. It was like a nationwide thing, and we won 3rd place. And then what did I think of the CP holiday train? Would I go see it again? I would not go see it again in Bensonville. It was fun to see the train, but being there was horrible. And I like crowds, all right. Like, I know some people don't at all, but I don't mind them. But this was just like, there were children walking on an active railroad track, and there were so many people, and country music might not be my absolute favorite genre ever, so I wasn't really going to stick around for the performances. So I think next time what I would try to do is try to figure out when it's like passing through somewhere and just film it from like a spot that's not an event spot. Another thing, when the CP holiday train came through, when it came through Chicago and in Bensonville, they said Bensonville Station, but the event happened like in a rail yard, like a quarter of a mile away from the station. But there were hundreds of people on the platform with their kids being like, when is it going to come? When is it going to come? And so I literally told about 200 people, hey, if you want to see the train, it's that way. Like, you're going to miss it if you stay in White Hare. Don't watch the Netherlands station race video, please. I keep my stuff up for myself to like watch how I've improved, but I discourage you from 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 looking it up. Also because like part of like when I was a teenager, I didn't even completely understand like the rules of copyright and stuff. Are there any train services that Lindsay likes more than you? Should I text her? Let's see. I know that she loves like the Amtrak Michigan trains. What with her being like having lived in Michigan a long time and just the convenience of it. I know she likes the South Shore line for similar reasons, but is there anything she likes more than me? I think right before we got engaged, actually, I did a video with her. It was her first time in the Netherlands, kind of capturing her first reaction of the Dutch train system. And yeah, she was super positive. She was like, I don't think I've ever been on a train that fast, which America would do better. But and I'm a little bit more tainted by 5 years of negative commuting experiences in the Netherlands, so she definitely enjoyed that trip more. But I also enjoyed it because it was like my first time being able to share something that had been such a integral part of my life for so long, with her. She texted me saying she doesn't think that there's any train she likes better than me. Honestly, it's a blessing to find somebody who not only tolerates the hobby, but encourages me in it and actually likes it. Like we do a lot of travel together, and she rode the 7,000 series here in Chicago before I did, and she was so excited. She sent me pictures. She was like, look at this, and took video footage, and I made all that footage into a video about the 7,000 series, which I used to celebrate 7,000 subscribers, and now we've more than doubled that. Also, why didn't I do a 10,000 subscribers video? Well, I got 10,000 subs like 4 days before Christmas, and just didn't really feel like the holidays were like a good time to sit down and talk to strangers on the internet for an hour and a half. Also, I was like uploading all my Christmas content in kind of an order and didn't want to disrupt that. This just was more convenient. It's been a good February so far for me. The weather's been phenomenal compared to like the 3 minutes of sun we saw in January, and received like good news personally, just been able to connect with people, and there's so much to be thankful for, including all of you. Dylan says my room looks nice. This is my living room. Basically, you can split everything into, if it's train related, which there is a lot, but not really in the video shot, and I don't feel like giving a house tour. Because I basically came home from work, plopped my backpack down, and turned all this stuff on. But that clock is like a Swiss railway clock that I thrifted for $15. It's not exactly on time right now, but I'll fix that once we're done here. And then all the plant stuff is Lindsay's, because Lindsay was a plant mom before it was cool, actually. And then, I don't know if you can see her, but in that tank is our fish Lizzie. Lizzie has been with me since the pandemic, so going on 3 years. She's doing great. I know it's weird to say that a goldfish is cute, but like, actually, when you dance, she kind of like dances too. It's adorable. I'm trying to think if we reach fine at 25,000 subscribers, I will post a short of me dancing with Lizzie, if she is alive. 3 years strong. But yeah, Lindsay's our only pet right now. Might get a dog someday once we have a place that'll allow it. But Lizzie is great for companionship that doesn't talk back. She just like, she looks at you and she understands, which is helpful. Gabe says, congrats on 15K. Hope you get far. Love your videos. Cheers from Mexico. I want to go to Mexico when the Tren Maya opens. I know that there's controversy surrounding the system, and when I make a video about that, I will obviously try to address that in a way that's fair. But also, like, that seems like a good reason to travel to shoot a video. And then obviously, I've heard that the transit in Mexico City is great. And I don't know what part of Mexico you're from, but I'd love to see it all. I just kind of want to go everywhere, you know? And it's really cool to be able to live in a time where that's possible. Like having done the travel that I've done and being able to like travel now and ride trains and even be sponsored riding trains, it's a blessing and I'm very thankful. All right, well, have I ever been on the personal rapid transit system in Morgantown? No, but I really, 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 really want to. Yeah. I mean, West Virginia is a beautiful state. It's got issues. Every state has issues, but I would love to. I've thought of doing a trip in that general direction of the U.S. and probably renting a car just because of the different locations involved. But like, I'd like to see Pittsburgh, which is obviously very doable by train. But then, like, I'd want to see the horseshoe curve. I'd want to see Johnstown and like the incline that you can actually drive your car onto, and then maybe head south into like West Virginia and the Virginias. Because I've never been to Western Pennsylvania as a destination. I've driven through there as a kid and like just sleeping in the car until we reached the restaurant type of stuff, but never actually gone to Pittsburgh. If I go to Pittsburgh, I should do a collab with Classy Will because I think he lives there. All right, we are at 83 minutes. I think I'll end at 85 because I can tell that viewership is kind of starting to dwindle. So you're saying you're gonna make it a priority to ride the CTA more when you visit Chicago next. Yeah. Just take the Brown Line for the experience. The river crossing, and then when it like makes its way through Old Town and Lincoln Park is just magical. Like, it's beautiful. Do I have any interest in the high-speed trains in China? Yeah, I have not been to mainland China. I would love to go and take the high-speed trains. They have like a sleeper high-speed train, I think. Oh, wow, George, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thanks for your questions today. Kenward's Model Railroad and Railroad Channel says hi. Good night, George. Thanks for your contributions today. And every time I always enjoy reading your comments. Michelle says congrats. Thank you, Michelle. I gotta finish Saturday's video, actually. It's like 99% done, but I think I need to make a few maps or graphics. That's another fun thing is I downloaded Inkscape not too long ago, and making those maps has been a really fun exercise. All right. We are at 85 minutes, and I think I'm gonna call it a night. I've got some stuff to do before the new day. The new day is very early, as every day is, and I think I might cook dinner now. If any inspiration on what to cook, it would be greatly appreciated. I think I'm gonna check the fridge to see what we have. Oh, CK says goodnight to you, Lindsay and Lizzie, and all the best now in the future. Lizzie, you can't hear her because she's a fish, but she says goodnight too. And so do I. Bye, everyone.